The Department of Corrections is calling it a terrible mistake.
A man who was supposed to be in police custody was released and now is accused of sexually assaulting a 19-year-old woman. News Channel 15's Elizabeth Fields has been digging into this, and we wanted to know, how could something like this happen?
Right. The DOC is owning up for this oversight. They say it's a case of inconsistent databases. The state said Robert Kemp Jr. was free to be paroled, and the counties mentioned a recalled warrant. The officers relied on the state's database and were wrong.
So when we got here, we took him in on parole like we do everybody else, and we just started from the beginning with our supervision, laying out our plan and what we were going to do with him.
31-year-old Robert Kemp Jr. had served his time with the state's Department of Corrections, so he was placed on parole. But then he was arrested at this Walgreens in South Bend 2 days later. A 19-year-old employee says he sexually assaulted her in the restroom. State officers say Kemp should have never been let out of jail in the first place. The registered sex offender has a warrant out for intimidation.
But generally, the warrant is the warrant, and if there's an indication that there's a want or a warrant out for someone, it doesn't matter what it's for, there'll be an inquiry with that agency to determine if it's still valid.
Department of Corrections spokesperson Doug Garrison says while officers saw this warrant, they also had reason to believe that it wasn't a concern.
And our notation was that we were aware of that earlier warrant, but our information was that it had been dismissed.
So now the department is taking measures to make sure it never happens again.
Whenever there's a discrepancy between our databases and any outside databases which we refer to in conducting these checks, is that we will resolve them before there's a release made.
Kemp is back in custody now and has a bond of $50,000. He is scheduled to be in court January 18th.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth.
Fort Wayne